Hello and welcome to the show. We're back on BeamNG Drive with more of your automation cars, tackling the Italian rally stage. We start with a vehicle built by Lunar Dragon. It's called the Dodgy Trim 1. It is a interesting vehicle. This, engine-wise, biggest engine of the day, 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8. Up at the front, 660 horsepower, also makes it the most powerful car of the day. However, it is quite heavy, at near enough 2 tons. There's a lot of car. It's all-wheel drive. I can see it's got the off-road tyres on it. A lot of weight, but a lot of power could be helpful. I think it's actually slightly rolling forward as we were on the line. It has ABS. Okay, well, that's going to make life difficult. It's ABS in a very heavy car, so braking zones are going to be pretty long. Power is pretty nice. It certainly is shifting. However, I'm going to have to be careful going into these corners. It will probably slide. 600 horsepower all-wheel drive on this dust would probably slide. Oh, be careful there. I don't end up running too wide and clipping the trees. It's a nasty tightening corner. I talk about it every time. Oh, panic and handbrake it. Panic and handbrake it has ish worked. Now, with a naturally aspirated engine with this much power and as much torque as this one's going to have, we will probably have no issues getting out of the hairpins. That much is for sure. We'll have issues getting stopped for them. Oh, that's scary. Through there. I thought we were going to the trees. Thankfully, the trees are a little bit forgiving, or the foliage is a little bit forgiving as you can drive through it. You can't see where you're going, so you're kind of making up as you go along a little bit. Oh, that's actually quite nicely done through there. We have got one more hairpin to go that I'm a little nervous about. Let's just get it stopped. Handbrake does work in this car, which is helpful. There we go, around the hairpin. Now it's the acceleration towards the line. We'll probably have to brake a bit early for this part, because I don't trust the big old boat here getting the change of direction. It's quick out the other side, up towards the finish line. 22.9. You know, that's not too terrible a start. That's not too terrible a start for the vehicle whatsoever. It's a good-looking car. This one is a very good-looking car, I think. And that is a solid first run. Kind of get almost four-door Mustang vibes. Kind of looks a little bit like the Mustang V8 supercar. Anyway, can we go quicker than a 22? I mean, that first run was pretty solid from the vehicle. The hairpins are going to probably be the almost make or break section. If I get those right, we could probably get the first hairpin a little better. The second hairpin I think was about spot on. It's all they're a little wide up here as well. So can we be brave enough with the car without falling off the road? That is the question. Yeah, through here I just don't trust the car to have the grip to make it around there with much more speed than that. And if we do, we're going to have to actually really fight the brakes down into this hairpin. Here we go. So into the hairpin we go. Oh, it's a little bit more on the inside. So yeah, that's a little too slow into that. It's a really fine line. It is a really fine line. Now, we were very, very quick through here, but it was sketchy on the way through. This one here, better, although don't slide your way too far out the other side. It's quite a long car. Well, it's not overly wide. We've seen the Porsches have been incredibly wide. We have seen some very wide cars. However, it is a long vehicle. That's asking too much. I was just asking too much of the Dodgy, and flick it into the hairpin. Little bit of a kind of half Scandinavian flick going on there. Yeah, it's the front end grip's not terrible, and it doesn't often when you go for those sort of flicks into the hairpins, you really struggle to get the car back in a straight line again, and it's not too bad on that, surprisingly. A little slower that time around, fairly consistent so far from the vehicle. And actually, I will give it credit, that bump there deals with very, very well. If this was a properly bumpy course, I think this might be one of the best set-up cars we've had to deal with it, considering it is such a big car. It's such a big car, it's such a heavy car as well, and it is actually controlling the body roll very, very nicely. So, well set up vehicle, just not sure it's quite what you want down here. I'm hitting that inside rock face, it's being pinged around across the bumps, and it's dealing with all of that very nicely. So carefully does it on the way in. You want to get a little bit of mid-corner speed, but you've got to keep it under control here. That's the really sketchy part. If you're too much on the inside, you'll clip a rock and tear a wheel off. Very easy to do that one. I'm going to brake. I think I'd rather brake early down here. You've got to got to be a bit earlier on the brakes rather than end up in the rock face. A bit early on the brakes, you might lose a tenth. Late on the brakes, and that'll be game over. So I will choose the slightly early on the brakes approach. That's a bit too fast into all of that. Somehow we got away with it. Christ, it's sketchy. Now, the chicane is my favourite corner on the course. However, Christ, is it iffy if you are really pushing your luck in a big, heavy muscle car. I mean, it's all-wheel drive, not quite full muscle car, but close enough, you know? Close enough. Yeah, it's a nice vehicle to drive. Boot it. Yeah, it doesn't get twitchy on the exit of that hairpin, which is really nice. I've seen a lot of cars do that. Don't know whether there's a lack of grip, perhaps that little bit more weight to keep the car planted. There we go, through the chicane, out the other side. That's a good time, actually. 21-1 for the Dodgy. It's a very solid car in terms of weight. It's a nice enough car to drive. It's nice, it's predictable, can push it fairly hard. Got to be mindful of the braking. It hasn't got, I don't think it's got the biggest brake. It's not terrible. It's got bigger rear brakes and front brakes, which is curious. It's not got the biggest brakes. ABS does cause it a bit of issues, and there's just a lot of weight to deal with. However, it controls the weight very well. Suspension very well sorted out. Ultimately lacks perhaps the grip of some cars and the braking of some of the much smaller, lighter vehicles, but an impressive run. I was kind of half expecting that to be worse after the first couple of corners. Yeah, it's a pretty decent time. Up next, we have got a rather curious car indeed. Built by Liam McDonald, it is the racing Prius. From the front, I mean, it's vaguely Prius because this is making the most of whatever you can with the game's basic body styles and so on. From the front, perhaps not immediately recognisable. From the rear, I mean, good effort. Like, good effort has got it. Why the Pri was the one to go for in terms of a replica, I don't know, but it is a good effort replica, at least. Now, engine-wise, is a bit different from a Pri. 4.2 litre i6 up at the front, naturally aspirated on this. 380 horsepower going to all of the wheels. Tyres look like decent tyres. I think they're tyres that go quick on the cars. They're not off-road tyres, basically. We'll give it a try. Off-road tyres, kind of talked about this a little bit before. Off-road tyres can work, however, they really mostly work on very thick mud rather than this dust. I think some of the other compounds work a little better on the dust, although if you have wide enough tyres, if you have massive off-road tyres, they will still do the trick. Now, this car is running with a automatic box. I can't actually change the gear manually, so it's going to be down to whatever the game wants it to use. Well, I will always use manual if there's an option. If the car has been built with a auto box or a sequential box, I don't remember. I think, well, I'm pretty sure that's what the S stands for. Yeah, then it'll do its thing, and I have to hope that it's in the right place at the right time. The engine seems to be picking up out of the corners quite nicely. There's a decent amount of grip going on. It doesn't feel unbelievably rapid. Accelerating, it's not quite as rapid as the tin foil, for example. That was nearly a death, but it's not doing too badly in terms of driving dynamics. Braking is not ABS, I'm pretty sure, at least. Yeah, we've been going... So, we have been getting a little sketchy with the brakes. That was a little wonky there. There we go, there's a gear in there somewhere as we accelerate up towards the finish line. I feel like it's going to be a decent time, not earth-shattering, but probably a quite decent time. Actually, yeah, it's going to be solid first run. We're into the 20s with the racing Pri. Ooh, no, got away with that one. 20.3 for the car. Another vehicle that's dealing with the bumps relatively well. He's a little bit softer, I think, a little bit bouncier. You can see with the suspension going on, yeah, probably a little softer sprung, a little higher suspension. It doesn't really need to be down here, but it's not getting the horrible body roll that we have seen from some cars. We've seen some big body rolls from cars, and this, I mean, it might move around a little bit, but it's not adversely affecting the vehicle, shall we say. Now, early on the brakes for the first corner. Where can we make up more speed? That last run was, again, fairly solid first runs from the car so far today. I'm sure I'm going to bin something. So where are we going to make up time? Hairpins can always potentially be a little bit braver. That's all gone a little bit wrong. That was a bit of panic there. Are we going to change gear, or are we just going to buzz the limiter? Thank you, car. Yeah, it's always... Oh, God, always interesting seeing what the automatic boxes are going to do with, especially on a course like this one. Well, around the hairpin, little clunkily. We are around. I don't think I've bent anything in the steering. I'm not sure I trust that car to be flat there. It's got okay amounts of grip, but I don't think it's got that much grip to really make it work there. And we'll go through the bushes as you do. I still think we're going to eventually clip something being a bit too greedy through there, but I got away so far with most of the cars that have run it. That's a very nice line through there. When you get it right, that's a brilliant corner. Actually, I mean, in general, this is just a fun stage. It's a fun road to drive down. We're gonna... There we go, out of the hairpin. Yeah, it's a fun stage to drive down. It is not the easiest for the cars, perhaps. That's a big slide. Keep foot down. It's got pretty good go across the line, I'll give it that. That was shifting by the time we got across the finish line. 18.3 from the vehicle. That's impressive. I mean, the 150, low 15s is what the Sunburst did, and that was the target to try and beat. Getting sub 20 down here is fast. Getting a sub 1 minute 20 down this course is actually very, very good going for anything. And yeah, the racing pre that we have here with a 4.2 litre i6 is surprisingly not all that bad. At times I wish it would bloody change gear, but it is what it is. Now, chuck it into this long corner. We were wide through here. Doesn't like that corner, and it's just happy to sit and spin the wheels a little bit through there and not actually change up through the gears. Never mind. Hairpins. Now, we were a little scruffy on this one here. I think this is one of the harder hairpins to get right. That one, that was absolutely spot on for the pre. It's another car that once it's starting sliding is actually quite composed. I've had a few vehicles that try to catch it when it's sliding get really, really unhappy. And yeah, I will give the car credit. It can do that. Ooh. So nearly took the rear wheel off. The sort of speed we were going and the angle we were going, you clip that rock and it is goodbye rear wheel. No, too fast. Oh. It's too fast in the end, through there. It's so easy to do. It's also annoyingly an undramatic crash when you end up going off there. It is an annoyingly undramatic crash. But yeah, just asked too much of the vehicle, and the pre is in the trees. Well, yeah, surprisingly good. Surprisingly good. Not quite up there with the Sunburst in terms of speed, the tinfoil and all that lot, but yeah, pretty respectable time in the end from the car, and ooh, big old smash after the finish line. As I said, anything sub 20 is going well, and we're running at the 18s with a gearbox that's a pain in the arse to work with. Yeah, it's not bad. Also, those brakes are tiny. Christ, look at the rear brakes. They got some piddly brakes. I think some cost saving has got into some of these brakes. I'm not sure that's what I would want on this course. However, these are some tiny, tiny brakes. Up next, we have got a lot of aero going on. Vehicle built by Lucas Slow. It is the Slowmobile Underdog. An interesting looking Porsche, very wide, of course. Porsche. Engine-wise, 5.4 litre flat 6. We've had some interesting engines going on today. 5.4 litre flat 6 at the back, so pretty sizable engine going on here. Just shy of 500 horsepower, so again, a lot of power in today's episode. In fact, the least powerful car was the Pre, and that's been as powerful as, well, I mean, some episodes haven't had a car more powerful than that. Big brakes looking on this. Looks like off-road tyres on the car. All-wheel drive, very wide, very big tyres. The width could give it grief on some of the rocks if I'm not careful. We've got top exit exhausts. Ooh, and we have ABS on this, although I'll tell you what, it stops well. Yeah, the splitter is not going to survive more than a little bit, really, on this course. It's the course, while it's not inherently bumpy, the splitters do tend to be A, quite fragile, and B, quite low, and you clip anything in this and it's going to have grief. Oh, this drives nicely. This drives nicely, and even with the ABS, the brakes on this are bloody good. Okay, I can work with it. I think I can work with this. So this is an example of how ABS can help a car. It's braking distance, because the brakes are so absolutely massive on this. The ABS, yes, it extends the braking distance, however, it's still getting stopped in reasonable time, and I can just go full on the brakes and not have to worry about locking up. We've seen with lots of cars going left into right hand, like this hairpin here, for example, because of this like kink in the road, so many cars are ending up going left into a right hand hairpin. I've got to try and get my turning point a little better there. Could have probably gone for a bit of handbrake. Okay, I'm liking this. I don't know whether it's going to be quite enough to challenge the tin foil. but it seems fast. Jeez, that's a quick first run. 17.7 for the car. That's a quick first run, and that was scruffy. There is more time to come from that. There is definitely more time to come from that vehicle. It's going to lose the splitter immediately, I think. There's nothing we can do about that. I guess it might make a little difference. Aero parts do work to an extent on automation cars. I don't quite know all the fine details of it, shall we say. But, yeah, the splitter's going to come off almost immediately around here. Apparently, when I was joking about the pickup truck we had last time losing all of its wings and whatnot, apparently parts falling off does actually change the weight of a vehicle. Not by a huge amount, but it does change the weight. This is a very well sorted out car. This is a very well sorted out car indeed. I mean, I'm going sideways. I've got confidence in the vehicle. Now, I've got to not get carried away. That is a really easy thing to do with a car that you like, is to get a little carried away. Oh, like that, for example. I think that actually just found grip. I was trying to slide it around and go, but I think it actually just got traction and launched itself forward. That's the wide wheel arches for you. Get it back pointing the right way. I think I've broken something inside it. That's the other difficulty, is if it does suddenly find traction when you're going to slide it around, we'll just understeer slash kind of just launch it forward. Carefully does it around here now, because it's a little broken. I mean, unfortunately not really learning much here with the car in its current state, other than got to be careful with how you launch out of these hairpins. If you get it wrong, it is just going to fire it straight into a wall. And important lessons are learnt. Oh yeah, it doesn't like this bit section now. It's too broken to like that section. Quick context, this car had a crash, a big crash, actually 2 crashes, and was horrible to drive through the final section and still did a 23.7. It's fast. It's fast indeed. But what can I do on a final run? It's a high pressure run for the vehicle here. I mean, I'm talking a high pressure run if we're going to get a quick time. It's nice that we've got a fast time immediately. However, I kind of want more from the car. Can I get any more from the Porsche? We're driven deep into the first turn. You kind of a little bit get away with it here. If you run wide at the first corner, it's not as bad as just about any other corner you run wide in, because you can just hook the car on the banking and send it around the next part. It's not the worst thing in the world. You run wide here and you're in the trees, which we're about to do if we're not careful. There we go. Engine is good as well. I mean, again, these non-turbo engines are nice to work with. Oh, that was very deep into the hairpin. That is the first time I've been slightly panicking under brakes. That was the first time where it just didn't seem to want to slow down. Possibly we're going at such a speed, I was a little bit braver with the car. It's now starting to get a little... I'm pushing the car now, and it is starting to get a little oversteery. This is, I think, one of the characteristics we're seeing from rear-engine cars. If that back end does start moving, you get... it doesn't really want to stop moving. Once it starts swinging around, you have a tough time trying to get it back pointing the right way. We actually clonk our way down the inside of the corner. Not ideal, and I'm stuck on the ditch on the outside. Can't quite get... Yeah, we're really struggling now to get it to go. Trying to get it in a straight line if it gets unhappy is not the easiest thing. It's fast, though. 16.1 in the end. Ooh, that's a quick time. That's a very, very good time. For a car with ABS and off-road tyres that are not really the preferred tyres down here, that's what they are capable of. Yeah, that is what they are absolutely capable of down here. Well sorted out car. When really going for it, it's just a lot of movement. I think that's just rear engine characteristics. I was on it on that final one, but in doing so, it was a little sketchy in a couple of places. We kept it together though. We got it across the line. It's into the 16s, which is bloody fast. Look at the size of those tyres, crazy tyres on this. Yeah, an interesting vehicle. A bloody fast one at that. The final vehicle of the day, built by Sea Viper. This is the BGMS 522T. It is a crazy all-wheel drive machine with a 2.2 litre turbo i5. So again, another different engine. We haven't seen too many i5s run here. The things to note about this car: weight, less than 1,000 kilos. Power, 634. It has very nearly as much power as the first car and is half the weight. That's immense power to weight ratio on this. We're on off-road tyres, decent size off-road tyres. Very, very small car, this. I mean, theoretically could be brutally fast. We will have to wait and see. Okay, so no ABS on the car. Brakes are okay as we chuck it down these opening corners. That acceleration is a lot. Oh, okay. Acceleration is a lot. I'm going to have to brake early, I think, for stuff because we're just going so bloody quickly. Concerning thing... Oh, there goes the wing. Doesn't feel like it has very much in the way of front-end grip. I think I might have broken something, admittedly, in the in the crash on this one. It does not feel like it had... It didn't feel like it had very much grip up until that crash. It's an unusual place to have an accident. In the way that we did is an unusual place to have an accident. I don't know if I have broken anything, or maybe it is just that understeery. Oh, no, something's unhappy with that car. Oh, dear. That's going to go badly for me. Keep it out of the... Oh, we kept it out of the, out of the ditch on the exit. This is not an easy car to drive. Okay, it might be slightly broken. Not going to be learning anything from the rest of this run with it in its current state. I think something's tweaked at least. This is not an easy car to drive. Unbelievable levels of acceleration. But that might be a problem. Here we go. Attempt number 2. Let's treat it... In some ways, I kind of want to treat it as a car with ABS. That's where I'm going to have to be braking, because it just goes so stupidly fast. I didn't actually look to see if the brakes were tiny on it. I mean, it's possible they're tiny. Come on, let's get slowed down. Gee, it doesn't stop. It really is not wanting to stop down here. And when you're as quick as this and with as little grip as this, that's a concern. I say as little grip. Again, sometimes when you have a car that's unbelievably fast accelerating, it feels like as little grip because you're hitting corners with just so much more speed. It does not turn in. Not like the Slowmobile did. That thing was decent at getting turned into these corners. This, I'm having to... That was a big breakthrough there. We've had cars running flat out through that section. Yeah. Right, we're going to have to teach it, or teach it. Treat it, sorry, as a bit of a point and squirt car. I know it can't carry the quarter speed. We're just going to have to get acceleration. That's going to be the car's... Wow, that is really understeery through all of that. They're panic and get on the brakes. Oh dear. I mean, we'll have at least all-wheel drive traction. I wonder how fast this machine is going to fire itself across the line at. I'm going to guess quite a lot if I can get it through here, which we do. Now, we unleash all of the power. Good God, that is so fast. That's ridiculous. With this much power and this little weight, it was always going to be fast. We're under a 1:20 on a very scruffy second run, sorry. First complete run through the course. This thing is unbelievably quick accelerating, but it is so dangerous. It's so dangerous. There's no grip and no brakes. How tiny are the brakes? Not as tiny as you might expect. I mean, I don't think they are quite... The back ones are tiny. I guess when you've got this much speed, I want massive brakes going on, and perhaps the very soft suspension doesn't help it. That is possible as well. I mean, it's quite high. Maybe the bit of body. I don't know. But whatever causes it, we understeer like a ferry and don't really stop, but we accelerate like a Saturn V. So it's an interesting combination of things. Here we go. Launch you down towards this next corner and then get very, very carefully on the brakes. Very gingerly take this area because I know I can't get away with much more. I don't trust this car. If I start sliding it around, I feel like we're going to just understeer like we are currently towards the trees. There's not going to be a happy ending for the car if I start doing that. Alright, early on the brakes. Focus on at least getting it tried to get it slowed down. A little bit of handbrake into the hairpin. And launch away. And panic and brake again. Panic and brake again. Got to bear in mind, of course, all of these cars here built for $15,000 or less. So sacrifices are probably... To get this much power, I'm actually kind of impressed with the engine. This is a small engine to be getting 600 horsepower out of, which suggests crazy turbo work. But the gearing and the power band is working in this car. There is power when we leave these corners, even if I'm a little stupid with the gears. There's probably just so much power that it'll work. It's savagely quick. It's a shame it doesn't stop. It's a shame it doesn't stop or turn. But there we go. It's an 18.4 across the line. That's 18.5 rounded up. That is unbelievably fast. That's such a stupid accelerating car. I mean, that is pure acceleration. That is what pure acceleration can do for a car. It's fast. It's not going to beat the Sunburst. It's not going to beat the Sunburst, the Nordic, or the Tinfoil. The Tinfoil had acceleration, not quite like this, but it had acceleration, but more importantly, it had the composure, the grip to go with it. This does not. Fun, utterly, utterly terrifying, very difficult to drive, but when you get it right, still pretty fast through the Italian rally stage. So, on to the leaderboard, and it is the Slowmobile that will go fastest of the day. Goes into a 5th place, just a second down on the Sunburst. It's a very, very good time. It's a very good time indeed for that car, for a car with ABS. That's how you get it to work, pretty much. The racing Prius goes into the top 10. It slots into a 10th place. I mean, it's only just very close with the Sphinx and Carl in at 18.3. In fact, that's an unbelievably close area of the table currently. Yet the racing Prius, not too shabby. Not too shabby at all around here. Again, we're only talking a few seconds down on the Sunburst. The BGMS is into a 12th place. Unbelievable acceleration, but absolutely nothing in terms of grip. Will still propel it along the course in an 18.5. So, still pretty quick. Terrifying, and you really do have to cling on for dear life, but still fast enough through the course. We do have to go a little bit further down to find the dodgy. To be fair, considering the difficulties with that car, 20th place isn't too bad. A 121.1. Yeah, it's up in 20th place. Beats the weird rally contraption, beats the Galaxian, the Falcon, crazy pickup truck from last time. Does lose out to the W90, our still fastest of the rear-wheel drive cars, but that's a damn well sorted out rear-wheel drive. That, though, is going to be it for this episode. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.